Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Take 30 podcast. So, my guest today is Miss Tanya Lareese. She is based in my hometown in Tampa, Florida. She's a singer songwriter and a mental health advocate. So, Miss Tanya, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So I have the first question I like to ask all of my guests is what's something challenging that's happened in the last few weeks? Or what's something that you've learned in the last few weeks? And it can be anything, a book you read, um, article that you read, or anything you saw on TV.
Well, I won't say a book or anything I read. It's just since I put this book out, I noticed that, I realized that everyone isn't going to support you um, when you're trying to do things to better yourself or others, and especially with the topic mental health. Um, People kind of run away from that topic. Um, but I decided that I'm going to tell my story to help others. I can't let the negativity stop me or whatever the people think. This is what helped me heal and hopefully help somebody else heal. Um, it's something I already knew, that everybody's not going to be supportive or in my corner when I start to speak about this, but um, it's more obvious now. So, like I said, everyone isn't going to be there. But even the ones that people I thought that would be, but that's not going to stop me about getting my story out there and trying to, help other people. So,
Right. I definitely agree with that. Not everyone is going to be in your circle, and even some family members too.
yeah,
Especially when you're speaking about a topic that is very taboo. And that's something that I had to overcome when it comes to, especially starting this podcast. Like, not everyone in your inner circle are going to support you with the podcast at first. And, that was even with my mom. She didn't really support it at first. Um, but she was really just in a way trying to protect me, I
yeah,
guess. And she knows how the internet is, and how social media is, and
absolutely.
how hateful it can be. However, um, using your voice for good is something that I've always wanted to be. I always wanted to be an advocate. And there are times where, sometimes, you kind of doubt yourself, like, should you continue? And that's like kind of something that's been challenging me a little bit lately. And what's pushing me forward is remembering why I started in the first place. Remembering that, I'm remembering my why, especially in especially being a podcaster and a content creator, and being a mental health advocate. Like, just remembering why I started, and once I go back to my purpose, then it allows me to I'm motivated a lot more. Um,
You're doing a
so
wonderful
yeah,
thing.
I agree. Like, not everybody is going to be in your circle. Not everybody's going to be supportive with what you're doing, but you know why you're doing it, and that's all that matters. And that's kind of what helps me push forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Um, yeah, thank you. So just tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, who you are, and yeah.
Well, I am a singer, songwriter, recording artist, and now an author. I was born in Hartford, Connecticut. I lived in California. I moved there when I was 5. So I lived there until I was 13 years old. And my parents moved us to St. Petersburg, Florida, um, and this is where I have remained since. I grew up in a strict Pentecostal household with a father who was a pastor and minister. Um, my biological mother died when I was 2 years old. I have four other siblings, two brothers and two sisters.
Hmm.
I'm the fourth child. Um, After my biological mother passed away, my father remarried really shortly after. Um, and my stepmother, which was the only mother that I knew at one time, I thought she was great, this big spiritual woman of God. And, you know, this is a part of what drove me to write this book. But like I said, I'm the youngest girl out of five children. We sing together
Hmm.
in the church, and they used to call us the Jackson Fives because I mean, sorry, my maiden name is Jackson, so they called it since it was five children. They
Hmm.
called us the Jackson Five. So that's a little bit of part of who I am and where I grew up.
That's awesome. So I just wanted to ask you, like, what inspired your songwriting? So, was it like personal experience with like what you dealt with as a child?
Yeah, as a kid, I loved music. Oh my God, I loved music, but we were only allowed to listen to and to sing gospel music. My father would not let us listen to secular music. I loved Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Taylor
Hmm.
Bell. I used to see them come on TV and sing, and I would get my brush, and I was really animated. And I would get down and, sing their songs, and just love to hear them. And I said one day I wanted to be a singer, but the songwriting was basically after my father passed away. Um, I knew that he loved gospel music, and I wanted to do a tribute to him. So I asked God to, help me write. And he gave me the gift of writing.
Hmm.
I eventually wrote over 100 songs and recorded an album, and I, dedicated it to my dad because he really loved my singing. He encouraged me to sing, but only gospel. So when I did my first album, that's what I decided to do and dedicate it to him. So that's what I did.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, yeah, my condolences. Um, and
Thank you.
also, I'm glad, you found, you had some musical
Yes,
influences, like, you're saying, Whitney Houston, that kind of inspired you to do music, and you writing your first album, that must have been
yeah,
exciting, and especially dedicating it to your dad because he seemed like he was the biggest influential in your life,
absolutely. My parents
and
were my biological mother and
yeah.
father both were singers too. So
Oh, okay. So it kind of ran in the family, like both your parents were singers, and then that's kind
yeah,
of what led you to do music. Okay. Well, that's awesome.
thank you.
So tell me, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a singer songwriter?
Well, having to please different audience was always nerve wracking to me. Um, you want to sound good, and you want everybody to like you, and mentally it was very stressful to get out and to work up the nerves, to get in front of all these different faces and worrying about whether they're going to like you or think you're good enough. And thank God, I never received any negative feedback. People really seem to love my voice and love my music. So that helped get me, help give me the courage to keep going and, to keep singing and performing in front of people. Um, I told you as a child I was pretty animated. I loved to be in front of a crowd as a little girl, but as I got older, it was really, I was really shy, and I had to take acting lessons and,
Right.
learn how to perform in front of a crowd as an older adult. But it was just funny how, as a kid, it didn't bother me. But as a
Mhm.
singer, people think you can get out there and you perform and you do well, but they think you're not nervous, and inside you're dying. Especially if it's a huge crowd and you're nervous.
Right.
But I got through it. I love to perform. I stopped during COVID and took a back seat on that and went back
Mhm.
to college to get my degree in ministry. So
Mhm.
going through all this mental health challenges and writing this book, um, eventually I'll go back to singing, but right now I want to focus on the book and trying to help people deal with mental health issues.
Yeah. And mental health is, something that, needs to be talked about more. Like, I feel like in our society, right? Our society, we never talked about it. And we never really, because we were taught, especially the older generation, to keep it to ourselves,
Absolutely.
not share what we're
Yeah,
going through.
absolutely.
However, I think, my generation especially has, done a great job with normalizing those conversations and, really coming out and saying, it's okay if you're struggling. It's okay to seek professional help, and that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
Yes.
You are taking the steps you need to take care of
Yeah.
you. And I think, like, especially with Gen Z, like we're starting to normalize those conversations. Um, there is work that, needs to be done, and, we will get there, I believe, eventually, especially if we all start coming together and sharing our struggles.
Yes.
I think, we'll be able to break the mental health stigma.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I love that, you were, able to, write, your book, and your book is called Your Mental Health is the Most Important Thing.
Yes.
And, you talked a lot about, some of the things that you were going through. So just tell my audience just a little bit about your book.
Well, so growing up in a Pentecostal church, we were taught to just pray. You know, really didn't have
Mhm.
therapists in the church or have people that you could really talk to about that. It was like, go pray about it. It'll be fine. But I learned during my mental health issues and the struggles and, the journey of trying to, you know, fight through all this stuff, that God gives us the tools and resources. He put these people in place like mental health um, therapists and counselors and these people that we can talk to help us. deal with that. I'm a strong believer in prayer, but I also believe that God wants us to do the work and to get the help that we need for some of the things that we struggle with. And my book is about my personal experience with different traumas in my life that eventually led to some mental health issues for me, such as depression, anxiety, and one time contemplating suicide, which everybody looked at me as this strong person that had
Mhm.
everything. And you can be strong, but eventually stuff starts to just just pile up, and it's just like you eventually explode. And the last straw for me was some issues with my stepmom and realizing that she wasn't who I thought she was. And like I said earlier, she was the only mother I knew, and I loved her more than
Mhm.
anything. I would have done anything in the world for her, and I was doing everything in the world for her. But that was the breaking point for me, and I already had some issues with my siblings, and but she was the one who almost threw me over the edge with some things she did. I expected a lot more from her because, like I said, she was all
Mhm.
the mother I knew. But by the grace of God, I'm here. I got the help, the therapy I needed.
Mhm.
When I never in my life had therapy.
Mhm.
I lost my mother, like I said, at 2, my father at 20. I saw a lot of things happen in my life,
Right.
and we just kind of put it in the back and not deal with it. And then all
Mhm.
these things start to um, form this deep hole. And eventually, I felt like it was going to swallow me up. And that's why when I thought
Right.
about taking my life, um, yeah, I had support with my manager, people that were in my corner that loved me. But, you know, if it wasn't for God, I'm telling you, I don't know where I would be. And writing this book was my therapy, and it really helped me get through some of the toughest situations in my life. So that's the reason for me writing. I believe that your mental health
Ye-
more important than anything. If this not okay, then you can't love, you can't help, you
mhm.
can't teach, you can't do anything for other people if this not okay. So I'm good, I'm healed, and I'm ready to go and share my experience to help other people now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, and you know, um, it mental health, definitely is the most important thing. Mental health is something that, again, is being talked about now, but um, we still have some work that we got to
Yes,
do.
ma'am.
And your book is inspiring to others, especially, you know, um, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s who were um, I guess I could say conditioned into believing that we shouldn't talk about mental health.
Yeah,
And I believe that your book is going to help others, in that, especially in that who are older, start, looking to share their story. And,
absolutely.
yeah, where could we find your book?
You can find my book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and you
Mhm.
can also get it on my
Mhm.
website, www.tljacksongreen.com.
Okay. So yeah, you guys can find Miss Tanya's book on her website or on Amazon. and I'll definitely link it in the show notes below. But also, Miss Tanya, I have one last question for
Sure.
you before we end the episode. So, I want to know, like, from your perspective, so what does self care mean to you, and what self care activities do you incorporate in your life?
One thing I do want to say is people think that mental health issues have to do with you being crazy or nuts. It's nothing like that. You know, people have their own traumas and struggles that they didn't deal with in the past that kind of build up to certain things. So that's one thing. But what I do, um, I define self care as putting myself first. You know, because I always put everyone else before me. You know, and I used to take things that people said to heart, and now I just block out the negativity, and sometimes that means walking away from people that don't support you or are in your corner when you're trying to do the right thing. And another thing is I always loved sports.
Mhm.
I was a big basketball fan throughout my life. My dad loved ball. He used to play with us as kids, and I played in high school and in college. And that was something that really helped clear my mind and help me, just be, just with the physical part of it, just help me with my strength and just exercising and all that. And I got away from that a lot, but now we have these women's sports and these women that are very inspiring. And now I get to watch that on TV. And then I just put a basketball hoop in my backyard and I go out there every day for 20 minutes, and it just helped me relax and calms me. And I I love that. And once um once I started healing from this depression, this you know played a big part in helping me going out there and doing this exercise. So I exercise, I meditate, I read my Bible scriptures, and I listen to gospel music every day. So that's something I do
Mhm.
for self care.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, self-care, like I said, it looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
And so like some of the things that I do, especially I love to journal.
Oh,
um, I love journaling. Anything that is going up in here, I love to write it down in my journal. um, and I definitely love meditation, love yoga. um, I even love like spending time outside, like getting
oh
outside,
yes, definitely.
um, and going for my runs, especially.
Good
So
for you.
that's like something that I like to do as a form of self care.
Yep. And number one, you gotta love
Um,
yourself. That's
yeah.
number one.
So thank you. Yeah, and number one, gotta gotta love yourself. I agreed. So yeah, Miss Tanya, I think that'll be it for this episode. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me and taking some time out of your day to talk. Um,
Thank you.
where can my listeners find you on social media?
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
No, no, I said where can all my listeners find you on social media, your website?
You can look me up on Facebook, Tanya Lareese Jackson Green, or Tanya Lareese, um, on my website. Um, you can Google my name, Tanya Lareese. You can find me. I'm on the net, so it's easy to find. Just type in my name, Tanya Lareese, and all my things will come up. So,
All
and you
right.
too.
Yes, you guys can I will link all and YouTube as
Yes,
well.
ma'am.
So you guys, I will link Miss Tanya's links in the show notes below. And yeah, you guys can connect with her, meet with her, talk to her.
To my book
She's
signing
definitely a
if you'd
lovely
like
person to
to.
talk to. And yes, and if you are in the the Tampa St. Pete area and you are able to make it, it's March 1st, right?
Yes, ma'am. At the
March
Wood
1st.
Center.
Yeah, March 1st is her book signing event. So if anybody's in that area, I will be there. I will actually be there on March 1st.
Right.
So it's in St. Pete, and I'll actually link that in the show notes below if anybody would like to attend. I will be there. Miss Tanya will be there, and yeah, make sure if you do have a podcast yourself, make sure to bring your cards,
Yes,
and yeah, let's
absolutely.
chat. Um,
It'll be fun,
so
fair,
yeah,
and
you guys, that will be
drinks
it
for
for
everybody.
this week's episode. Right. Yeah, I can't forget that one. um, so this will this will actually be it for this week's episode. Thank you guys again so much for coming on the show. I mean, listening to this episode. Be sure to actually to rate the podcast on Spotify and on Apple Pod and leave me a review. I'd love to hear your feedback. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode. And also remember to take care of yourself. You are number one.
Amen.
You come first. Take care of you first. So I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Thank
Bye,
you.
you
Okay, be
guys.
blessed.